And Delta 1437, the flames are visible from the tower. Are there any emergency procedures that you would like to enact at this time?
Imagine you're the captain of that 757. You have about 200 people sitting on that aircraft waiting for you to make a decision while people on the radio are asking and listening to everything that you say. If you do nothing and that flyer were to get out of control, you could have people die on your aircraft. If you ask people to evacuate and people get injured during that evacuation and the evacuation was determined to be unnecessary, everyone's going to be looking to you, asking you why you decided to evacuate when it was unnecessary. And all these eyes are looking on you. If you do the right thing, you get a good job. If you do the wrong thing, you're going to have a lot of explaining to do. This flight went from an absolutely normal flight to this in about 10 seconds. Here's the full audio.
About 875, runway 9, left and right 2, line up and wait, traffic up, disregard, do not line up and wait.
We're staying on holding short of 9 left for Delta 875.
Crash crews on the way, crash crews on the way. About 1437, just hold the position there on the runway.
1437, holding position.
All ops vehicles on frequency, any ops vehicles on frequency?
Okay, it sounds like we blew a tire for 1437, is that correct?
Yes, sir. We did see smoke and fire coming off of one of your tires. We do have the emergency vehicles on your phone. We're sending them out now and looking for some ops vehicles. Just hold the position.
Very good, thank you.
No problem. And your number one main gear is on fire.
Okay, thank you.
And Delta 1437, the flames are visible from the tower. Are there any emergency procedures that you would like to enact at this time?
I have no idea what caused this fire. It really could have been a huge array of possibilities. It could have been a hard landing on fatigued tires. It could have been the brakes locking up. I'm not going to speculate on all of that because we don't really know what actually caused the flames at this point. The thing that's important to realize here is whatever it was, you can tell that it happened right away on landing based on what the controller says here.
About 875, runway 9, left and right 2, line up and wait, traffic up, disregard, do not line up and wait.
What's interesting is the plane is stopped in the middle of the runway, which is something you would do if your plane is on fire, not going to keep moving around. I'm going to guess that it's the captain on the radio because in this type of a situation, the captain is going to make the final decision. So you might as well ask the questions and get the information that you want directly from air traffic control instead of relaying that through your first officer. So I'm guessing it's the captain, that's the guy that's talking on the radio to get that information. And all of the weight of this situation is now on his shoulders. I don't know if he was the one flying or working the radios when they were coming into land. Either way, I'm guessing that you heard the female first officer talking on the radio, and I'm guessing that if she was flying or she was working the radio, either way, as soon as you felt that plane tires or you heard the explosion or whatever, a lot of times what will happen is the captain will take over the controls of the aircraft because they're typically going to have more experience. So they're going to take over the controls of the aircraft to verify, to make sure, or help keep the plane on the middle of the runway, because if you have blown tires, you're going to have a bunch of drag on that side. It's going to be wanting to pull the plane to the side of the runway, and that obviously could take a bad situation and make it a lot worse. So I'm guessing that's why you heard the first officer make the one radio call. Then I think once they stopped, the captain wanted to get the immediate information so that way he could make the decision of what they were going to do in this situation. Now the controller gives them a very key piece of information right here.
And your number one main gear is on fire.
Now I don't know how this controller knew this, but the easiest way to remember when you're looking at a plane is from above, how they're going to count the tires is different. For example, on a 747, we count the tires 1, 2, 3, 4 like this per set of trucks. A truck is essentially just one set of landing gear because we have a few different sets under there. But apparently on the 777, they counted a little bit differently. They counted 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way across and didn't do it again for the next row. Now I haven't flown the triple, but different planes are going to number their tires differently. Some pilots typically don't even know what number tire there is because it's kind of an irrelevant piece of information. If there's a problem with a tire, you're going to tell the mechanic. That mechanic's going to fix it, and he's going to relay, or she's going to relay, hey, it's number 4 tire that needs to be changed. I remember when I was new on the 747, there was a tire that was had something wrong with it when I was doing the walk around. And I said, hey, there's one of the tires on the left side under the wing. It's got this thing wrong with it because we have body gear and wing gear. So I was telling him which one it was. It was going to be very obvious when he got out there to go look at it. But either way, this is number one. So regardless, it's the front left tire is essentially what she's telling to the pilots. Luckily, it wasn't one of the bigger numbers because she's saying number one, so front left. That's it that way on every other plane. So when she tells him this,
and your number one main gear is on fire.
She is literally telling him his tire is on fire, and this is his response.
Okay, thank you.
Now that right there is impressive to me that he has the manners to say thank you, even though he just got told his plane was on fire. I've held the door open for people, and it's sometimes hard to get a thank you for that. So he's getting told his plane is on fire, and he's like, okay, thank you. And so this pilot is now dealing with this situation. He believes his front left tire is on fire. It's on fire, and it's the middle of the daytime, and the tower can see it, so it's a decent-sized fire. And now he has to make the decision to evacuate these people and what to do. Now, there may be indications on the flight deck that he can see which set of tires is on fire or deflated or indications. Either way, he is going to feel that that plane is possibly leaned, but definitely pulling at the speed they're going. If those tires aren't working on the left side, the plane is going to be pulling that way. So he's going to know, regardless of what air traffic control tells him, okay, there's definitely something happening on this left side because we're getting pulled that way. But you have to realize this is all happening within seconds. They don't have a diagram. They landed, they thought everything was fine, and then all of this happened, and now he's having to make split-second decisions while the controller's asking him, while the flight attendants are now sitting on the runway. They probably heard the explosion. The other first officer is going to be looking at them to make the decision. There's a lot of pressure happening here that went from just normal day to, big decisions to be made. Remember, front left tire, here's what they say next.
Out of 1437, the flames on the right main gear are on fire and visible from the tower. Would you like to enact any emergency procedures at this time?
So you were told your number one's on fire, and your indications and what you felt on your plane are telling you the left side's on having a problem, but now you're getting told you have some problems on the right side, where the right side is on fire. So now you're the captain, and you have to make a split-second decision here of what you're going to do with everything in order to get people safely off the plane, because now you're getting told you have two sets of gear on fire, your left side and your right side. Here's what the captain is doing, and he's sounding very calm and composed, which is excellent. Listen to this.
Yes, we're declaring emergency. We'll probably be evacuating off the right side of the aircraft.
Out of 1437, roger that. We will relay that information and make sure everyone remains clear. You could begin your evacuation procedures.
Tower Delta 1576, Bernie, 9 right.
Out of 1576, Atlanta Tower, winds 180 at 4, runway 9 right, clear to land.
Clear to land, 9 right, Delta 1576.
So the captain obviously disregarded the fact of what she said about the right side being on fire. Now that could be because they looked out and saw that there was nothing out there. It could be from the indications that they had, like we have a synoptic page, which gives us a summary of everything that's going on in the plane. They could have looked at that to verify and make the decision that way. Flight attendants will also look outside a window, which is really important for flight attendants. They'll look outside the window before they open the slide and let people go out there. They'll look outside, is there fire out there, before they let people go out. I don't think a lot of people realize just how key and instrumental these evacuations are, that flight attendants are there, because without them, it could be a real mess. If you just let passengers open the door, they'd be running out into all kinds of fires or into all kinds of things. So the flight attendants are trained in looking outside and verifying, okay, that's safe for people to go out there. But this thing really surprised me.
Out of 1576, Atlanta Tower, winds 180 at 4, runway 9 right, clear to land.
So we're here in Atlanta Airport, and the Delta aircraft on fire is right here on 9 left. And just moments earlier, the captain said this.
Yes, we're declaring emergency. We'll probably be evacuating off the right side of the aircraft.
Which means there's going to be a lot of people leaving this aircraft on this side of the aircraft, and they're going to be going away from the plane. And if you're a frequent traveler, you know that people in an airport have no idea where they're going, even though there's signs everywhere saying baggage claim or gate this way. They have no idea how to move around in an airport, and that's with signs everywhere. On a runway, there are no signs for your everyday passenger. So you can imagine the possible chaos when you let a couple hundred people run out onto a runway, especially with their plane just being on fire. So you can imagine how this is going to play out. Those people should be going into this areas here, which are grassy areas between the runways. But right here is 9 right. And what's happening on 9 right? Well, she just cleared somebody to land.
Out of 1576, Atlanta Tower, winds 180 at 4, runway 9 right, clear to land.
Now, some of you are watching this going, how could she make that decision of clearing a plane to land? But realize there is a lot going on for this controller as well. She is looking outside, watching possibly the people start to evacuate from the plane, so that way she can coordinate with the fire crews of where people are. Hey, people are evacuating now. She has that she's dealing with. She probably is coordinating, obviously, with the pilots on what they're doing. She has planes that are landing. So there is a lot going on for this controller while she's now seeing something that probably for the first time in her life she's seeing. Maybe not, but it's a very uncommon situation that you have a plane on fire. So you got a plane on fire, which I've never seen, and I've spent thousands of hours flying at airports, so maybe it's her first time seeing it. But she's seeing that. She's got to coordinate with the fire crews to get them safely, because they can't just turn on their lights and just run through all the different runways. They have to get permission as they move around through the airport. So that coordination has to happen. She's looking at the plane, and then there's this plane that's coming in and landing on 9 right. So it's just kind of I guess a habit, a muscle memory. Okay, 9 right isn't affected. Go ahead and land on 9 right. Obviously, that's not going to work with all these people now running into the grass.
And Tower, I just wanted to verify the emergency equipment is on the way. Are we still on fire?
Yes, sir. Still see flames.
Okay, very good. We're evacuating then off the right side of the aircraft.
Roger that. Emergency vehicles are on their way. Delta 1576, go around, climb maintain 3000, turn right, heading up 180.
Go around 3000, heading 180, Delta 1576.
I think somewhere in the middle of all this, she put it all together that, hey, these people are going to be evacuating basically onto that runway. And then she realized that there's going to be a plane that she just cleared to land on there. Now, it's possible that when these pilots got this clearance to land, they weren't on the tower frequency, which meant they wouldn't have been hearing about, hey, are we on fire? Hey, we're going to be evacuating. It's possible. But once they checked in and once they get cleared to land, they're going to be monitoring that frequency until they land and get off of the runway. So once that other pilot, the Delta pilot that's on the ground and that's on fire, said we're going to be evacuating off the right side, these pilots would have been hearing that. So now they would be knowing, okay, there's an evacuation that's about to be going on. They're still on fire. You're now going to be looking and thinking and probably deciding, are we going to be landing or not? And if they saw that that plane was on fire, that was next to them, and they heard about that, they probably were getting very close to go around regardless of what the controller said. However, the controller, now realizing everything that's going on, sends them up in the air. So now the controller has one plane doing a go-around, which she still has to coordinate where they go. She has the plane that's on fire on the ground, the people evacuating. She's coordinating with the fire people. She has a lot on her plate. The captain is dealing with all the people that are on the plane, the flight crew, the cabin crew, all the passengers, and has that whole responsibility about safely getting them off the plane. So you have two people that are extremely loaded and all the flight attendants that are in charge of getting those people quickly and safely off the plane. A lot is happening and there's a lot of moving parts right now. It's crazy. Here's what happens next.
And ARFF vehicles on Romeo, cross runway 9 right, proceed Romeo 7 November to the emergency vehicle on runway 9 left.
ARFF 9 approach 1 cross.
Delta 1576, maintain 3,190 knots.
3,190 knots, Delta 1576.
Now this controller sounds like they kind of have everything put back together again, which she did very fast. Again, this is not something that I've ever seen. It may be the first or maybe at the most the second or third time she's ever done this in real life. And it's definitely different when you're doing something in real life than when you're simulating it. I'm sure they have different types of training that they do just like we do in the simulator. But luckily this is happening at Atlanta and there's a full other side of the airport. So she's probably going to coordinate to get them to land all the way over here and keep both of these runways clear so everybody can safely get off the plane. Now there was a lot of audio that I had to trim out of this because she's coordinating with the fire crews and I don't want to make this video very, very long. It's already going to be pretty long, I can tell. But there is something that happens right at the end that I think it's really important that you hear. Listen to this.
This is Delta 1437 on the runway. This is the captain speaking, and we have evacuated the entire aircraft. All passengers are off board. I'm getting off now. Thank you.
Delta 1437, thank you.
Now this is just great leadership, really. This captain did an amazing job. Even with some misinformation about the right side being on fire, he still made the right decision of going off the right-hand side. He got everybody off the aircraft, then verified that now everybody's off the aircraft, including all the flight attendants. He got back on the radio to let air traffic control know that they weren't there, because he doesn't know exactly what's going to happen. Is this thing going to turn and explode? Is the wing going to catch on fire, or is it going to move into the cabin? And he doesn't want the firefighters that are on the ground to risk their lives trying to get on that plane thinking, oh, possibly there's still more crew or more people on there. So by him letting air traffic control know, the ground crew, the fire crew that are coming are going to know that plane is empty. So if something were to happen where it were to catch in flames, those firefighters aren't going to risk their life to get on there to get anybody off. They're going to go, okay, well, that plane's gone, no big deal. Let's keep trying to put the fire out, but they can do it from a safe distance. That captain remained extremely calm and cool under pressure, and that was not an easy decision to make when you're going from, hey, normal day, to, uh-oh, life-changing decisions to be made for you and about 200 other people. Now, that was very good captain decision-making, and the other thing I want you to notice is something that these passengers are doing. And I realize the quality of this footage isn't great, but I want you to notice something here. Those people are getting out of the plane, and they're not carrying any luggage with them, which is very important because if you're taking luggage, that could poke a hole in that slide, and now that slide is unusable for everybody else to safely get off the plane. So that's the first thing. The second thing is they're getting to ride the Gray Dragon, which is always something that's fun to do. We do it when we go through training, but it's definitely different in real life. But they're getting to ride the Gray Dragon. You notice nobody is taking any luggage here? The other thing that they're doing is there's people that are waiting at the end of the slide, and they weren't delegated, but they're just there to help people get off safely so they can get away from the aircraft. A lot of that comes down to the flight attendants. The flight attendants are going to be there telling people, screaming at them, leave your bags behind, come to me, or come to the door, or whatever command it is that they give. And they're going to be verifying that those people aren't taking luggage. Now, I don't know if people were showing up with backpacks or bags or trying to get off with their luggage and they were telling them, like, leave it behind. I don't know. Either way, nobody's getting off that plane with a bag, which tells you that the flight attendants are there not only safely getting people off the plane, but they're making sure that they're not doing anything that's going to hinder or stop other people from being able to safely get off the plane, which is a great job from them. A lot of times flight attendants don't get any credit for these situations, but they are just as vital of the safety for everybody getting off the plane as the flight crew are. So the captain's making some good decisions, making about where to go, and that they're going to evacuate. That's on him to make that call. Then you have the flight attendants safely getting everybody off the plane and not putting anybody else at risk. And then you have passengers that are just doing the right thing by staying on the ground there, and they are making sure people can safely get away from the plane, which I think is just tells you that there is still a glimmer of hope and humanity out there. The captain makes that call, and then of course he gets to ride the Gray Dragon as the final one, and then they go into the lawn there and probably all hug each other and take some video, which I use for this video. I look forward to hearing from you. Until then, keep the blue side up.